Lieutenant Commander Rachel Stone had been teaching at the Naval Special Warfare Training Center in Virginia Beach for 2 years. At 43, she was older than most instructors, and the only woman teaching advanced tracking and evasion tactics. She had earned her position the hard way, 15 years as a Navy intelligence officer, multiple deployments, and skills that few people knew about. But respect didn't come automatically, especially not from men who thought they already knew everything. Monday morning started like most others. Rachel stood in front of a classroom of 12 students, all male, all in their late 20s, all convinced they were God's gift to special operations. They were part of an elite training program, hand-selected candidates who would go on to classified assignments. "This week we'll be conducting Exercise Phantom Hunter," Rachel announced. "It's a 5-day field training operation in the Piney Grove Wilderness area. You'll be divided into 2 teams. One team hunts, one team evades." The students looked bored. They'd done dozens of these exercises. "The twist this year," Rachel continued, "is that I'll be playing the role of a high-value target. Your mission is to track me down and capture me within 72 hours. That got their attention. Several of them sat up straighter. A few exchanged amused glances. A man in the front row raised his hand. His name was Derek Hutchins, and he carried himself with the arrogance of someone who had never truly failed at anything. "Ma'am, with all due respect, you'll be the target? Alone." "That's correct." "Against all 12 of us?" "Yes." Hutchins looked at his classmates and grinned. "This is going to be the easiest exercise we've ever done." Laughter rippled through the room. Rachel kept her expression neutral. "You think so?" "No offense, ma'am," another student said, "but we've been training for months. We're in peak physical condition. We know these woods, and there's 12 of us against one of you." "Noted," Rachel said calmly. "Anyone else have concerns about the exercise being too easy?" More chuckles. One man in the back row actually yawned. "Good," Rachel said. "Then let's discuss the rules. You'll have standard field gear, GPS units, and night vision. I'll have the same, plus a 12-hour head start. You'll track me using any methods you've learned. If you capture me before the 72-hour deadline, you all pass with honors." "And if we don't?" Hutchins asked, still smiling. "Then you all fail this module and repeat the entire course." That wiped the smiles off some faces. This wasn't just an exercise, it was their final exam. "One more thing," Rachel added. "I'll be armed with a modified training rifle. Fires marking rounds, basically paintballs. If I tag you, you're eliminated from the exercise. You'll report to base camp and wait there until the exercise concludes." Hutchins raised his hand again. "So you're saying if you shoot us with paint, we have to quit?" "That's correct." "But there's 12 of us. You really think you can eliminate all of us before we find you?" Rachel looked directly at him. "I guess we'll find out." The classroom erupted in laughter again. Even the quieter students were smiling now. The idea of their middle-aged female instructor outmaneuvering and eliminating an entire team of elite trainees was apparently hilarious. Only one student wasn't laughing. His name was Marcus Webb, a former Army Ranger who was older than the others at 35. He studied Rachel with thoughtful eyes. "Question, ma'am," Webb said. "What's your background before you became an instructor?" Rachel met his gaze. "That's classified." "Classified how?" "Classified as in I'm not authorized to discuss it." Webb nodded slowly. "I see." Hutchins rolled his eyes. "Come on, man. She probably pushed papers at the Pentagon. Now she's trying to play soldier with us." More laughter. Rachel let it wash over her without reacting. "We deploy Wednesday at 0600 hours, she said. "I suggest you use tomorrow to prepare, study the terrain maps, plan your tracking strategy. You're going to need it." "We'll find you by Thursday afternoon," Hutchins declared confidently. "Bet on it." "I look forward to it," Rachel said, dismissed. As the students filed out, still joking about how easy the exercise would be, Webb lingered behind. "Ma'am, can I ask you something off the record?" Rachel gathered her materials. "Go ahead." "You were intel, right? But that's not all you did." Rachel paused. "What makes you say that?" "The way you move, the way you assess a room when you enter it. I've seen it before in people who have done real field work, dangerous field work." He studied her carefully. "You were operational, weren't you?" Rachel considered her answer. Let's just say I have relevant experience. Webb nodded. Then those idiots have no idea what they're walking into. No, Rachel agreed quietly. They really don't. That evening, Rachel sat in her small office reviewing the exercise plan. But her mind kept drifting to memories she usually kept locked away. 15 years ago, she hadn't been Lieutenant Commander Rachel Stone, instructor. She had been Senior Chief Petty Officer Rachel Stone, member of a classified Navy intelligence unit that operated in places the United States officially wasn't. She had hunted high-value targets in Afghanistan. She had run surveillance operations in hostile cities. And yes, she had been trained as a sniper, not because it was her primary role, but because everyone in her unit had to be capable of eliminating threats quietly and from distance. She had been good at it, very good. But that was before the incident in Kabul, before her team had been betrayed, before 3 good people had died because someone had sold them out. Rachel had left operational work after that. The investigation had cleared her, but the guilt remained. She couldn't save her team then. She had failed them. So she became an instructor, teaching others how to survive in the field. It was safer, quieter, a way to serve without carrying a weapon into enemy territory. But sometimes, when students like Hutchins laughed at her, dismissed her, treated her like she was nothing, something old and sharp stirred inside her. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in." Captain Morrison entered. He was the commanding officer of the training center, a stern man in his 50s who ran everything by the book. "Stone, I wanted to talk to you about this exercise." "Sir?" Morrison sat down heavily. "I've been getting complaints. Some of the students think it's inappropriate for you to be playing the target role. They think it sends the wrong message, a woman being hunted by men." Rachel felt her jaw tighten. "The exercise has been approved, sir. It's in the curriculum." "I know, but these aren't regular students. Some of them have connections. Hutchins' father is a congressman. Another student's uncle is an admiral." Morrison looked uncomfortable. "I'm just saying maybe we should modify the exercise, make it less personal." "Personal?" "You know what I mean. If you embarrass these men, if you make them look bad, then they'll learn an important lesson about underestimating their opponents," Rachel finished. Morrison sighed. "Rachel, I'm trying to protect you here. These guys have egos. If you humiliate them, there could be consequences for your career." Rachel stood up. "With respect, sir, my career is fine. And these students need to learn that in the real world, the enemy won't care about their egos. If they can't track and capture one woman in a controlled environment, they have no business going into the field." Morrison was silent for a moment. "You're really going to do this?" "Yes, sir." "And you think you can actually evade 12 trained operators for 72 hours? Rachel allowed herself a small smile. "Evade them? Sir, by the time this exercise is over, they'll all be eliminated, every single one of them." Morrison's eyebrows shot up. "That's ambitious." "That's a promise." After Morrison left, Rachel pulled out a locked box from her desk drawer. Inside was a journal from her operational days. She flipped to a specific entry, dated 12 years ago. The page contained notes about counter-tracking techniques, how to move through hostile territory, how to turn hunters into prey. At the bottom of the page, in her own handwriting from over a decade ago, was a phrase: "The best defense is making them afraid to hunt you." Rachel closed the journal and put it away. Wednesday morning, she would remind these arrogant students what a real operator looked like. And she would do it without mercy. Wednesday arrived cold and overcast. Perfect hunting weather, Rachel thought as she geared up in the pre-dawn darkness. The Piney Grove Wilderness area covered 40 square miles of dense forest, swamps, and rocky terrain. It was used exclusively for military training exercises, isolated, challenging, and unforgiving. Rachel checked her equipment one final time. Modified M4 rifle loaded with marking rounds, GPS unit, night vision goggles, 3 days of minimal rations, water purification tablets, basic survival gear. And a few items the students didn't know about. Captain Morrison supervised the deployment. "You'll have until 1800 hours before the tracking team is released, 12 hours as promised." "Understood, sir." "Rachel," Morrison said quietly, "you can still call this off. Do a standard exercise instead." "I'm good, sir." Morrison shook his head. Your funeral, good luck. Rachel disappeared into the woods at 600 hours. She moved quickly for the first 2 hours, putting distance between herself and the starting point. But she wasn't just running. She was laying false trails, doubling back, moving through water to break her scent. By noon, she had reached a position 5 miles north of the starting point, in elevated terrain with good sight lines. She set up a concealed observation post and waited. At exactly 1800 hours, she heard them coming. They were loud, not extremely loud, but loud enough. They moved as a single group, 12 men crashing through the forest with their high-tech gear and absolute confidence. Rachel watched them through her scope. They were following her trail, which she had deliberately left clear for the first mile. She wanted them to think they were on the right track. Hutchins was leading the group, barking orders. She went north, probably heading for the high ground. We'll split into 3 teams. No, that was Webb's voice. We should stay together. If she's as good as I think she is, splitting up is exactly what she wants. Come on, man, Hutchins said. It's one middle-aged woman. We don't need military tactics to find her. We just need to cover ground. That's a mistake. You want to fail because you're paranoid? Hutchins challenged. Fine, you can hang back and be careful. The rest of us are going to win this thing. Rachel watched as the group split apart despite Webb's objections. Hutchins took 6 men and continued north. Webb reluctantly led 3 others east. The remaining 2 went west. Amateur hour, Rachel thought. She waited until Hutchins' group was well past her position, then she moved. Silent as smoke, she descended from her perch and began following the 2-man team that had gone west. They were making it too easy. They talked to each other in whispered voices that carried through the quiet forest. They checked their GPS units constantly, the screens lighting up their faces in the growing darkness. Rachel closed the distance to 30 meters and settled into position behind a fallen log. The first student was a cocky kid named Patterson. Through her scope, Rachel could see him grinning as he talked to his partner. We're going to find her tonight, Patterson said. I guarantee it, and when we do, Hutchins is going to lose his mind that we got her first. Rachel lined up the shot, center mass, squeezed the trigger. The marking round hit Patterson in the chest with a soft splat, leaving a bright orange paint mark on his tactical vest. Patterson looked down in shock. What the? His partner spun around, trying to locate the shooter. Where did that come from? Rachel had already moved. She circled through the underbrush, silent and invisible. The second student, a man named Tors, was scanning the woods frantically. Patterson, report to base camp. I'm going to. Rachel's second shot caught him in the shoulder. Tors looked at the orange paint mark in disbelief. She got both of us. How did she even? But Rachel was gone, melting back into the forest. 2 down, 10 to go. She checked her watch, 19:30 hours. It had taken her 90 minutes to eliminate the first 2 students. At this rate, she'd be done by tomorrow afternoon. But the others would be more cautious now. They'd know she was hunting them. Rachel activated her radio to the frequency she knew the students were monitoring. This is Stone, she said calmly. Patterson and Tors have been eliminated. 10 remain. I suggest you watch your backs. She clicked off before they could respond, but she could imagine their reactions. The shock, the realization that this wasn't going to be the easy exercise they'd expected. Good, let them sweat. Over the next 6 hours, Rachel moved through the night like a ghost. She used every technique she had learned in her operational days. She set false trails. She circled back on her own path. She moved through streams to mask her scent and footprints. And she watched, always watching. At 200 hours, she found another group, 3 students who had bedded down for the night in a small clearing. They had set up a defensive perimeter, but it was textbook and predictable. Rachel approached from downwind, moving so slowly that it took her 40 minutes to close the distance. She could hear them talking in low voices. This is insane, one of them said. She took out Patterson and Tors like it was nothing. Maybe Webb was right, another admitted. Maybe we underestimated her. Doesn't matter now, the third said. We just need to be more careful, stay alert, she can't get all of us. Rachel settled into position 25 meters away. 3 targets slightly separated. She'd have to move fast. First shot, the student on watch. The marking round hit him in the back. He yelped in surprise. His two companions jumped up, grabbing their rifles. Second shot, the student to the left hit in the leg. The third student dove for cover, finally showing some decent tactical sense. He rolled behind a tree and brought his weapon up, scanning for targets. Rachel waited. Patience was the sniper's greatest weapon. The student made the mistake of keying his radio. "This is Morrison. She's here. We're under attack." The radio transmission gave away his exact position. Rachel adjusted her aim and fired through the underbrush. The marking round hit him in the arm. "Damn it," he shouted. 5 down, 7 to go. Rachel vanished into the darkness before they could even process what had happened. By dawn, the remaining 7 students had regrouped. Rachel watched them from a distance through her scope. They looked exhausted and rattled. Hutchins was arguing with Webb again. "This is insane," Hutchins shouted. "She's picking us off like we're amateurs." "Because we're acting like amateurs," Webb shot back. "I told you we should have stayed together. I told you she was dangerous." "How is she doing this? How is one person hunting all of us?" Webb looked at the others. "Because she's not just an instructor. Whatever she did before this, whatever her classified background is, she was trained to do exactly what she's doing now. Hunt people." The other students looked unnerved by this. "So what do we do?" one of them asked. Webb thought for a moment. "We stop hunting her. We find a defensive position, dig in, and wait her out. She has to come to us eventually if she wants to eliminate all of us before the deadline." "That's coward talk," Hutchins snapped. "That's tactical thinking," Webb corrected. "We're down 5 men in less than 12 hours. At this rate, we'll all be eliminated by tonight. The only way we win is to change the game." Rachel listened to this conversation through a parabolic microphone. Webb was smart. His plan might actually work. Which meant she needed to do something unexpected. She keyed her radio again. "This is Stone. Current score, 5 eliminated, 7 remaining. Time elapsed 14 hours. I'll give you a sporting chance. Meet me at the old mill ruins at 1300 hours. Bring everyone you have left. Let's settle this face to face." She clicked off. Through her scope, she watched the students react with confusion. "Is she serious?" one of them asked. "It's a trap," Webb said immediately. "Or she's cocky," Hutchins countered. "Maybe she thinks she can take all 7 of us in a direct confrontation." "Why would she give up her tactical advantage?" "Because she's trying to prove a point," Hutchins said bitterly. "She wants to humiliate us completely, show that she can beat us even without hiding in the woods." Webb shook his head. "We shouldn't go." "We have to go," Hutchins argued. "If we don't, we look like cowards, and if we do, we have 7 men against 1. Even if she's good, those odds are impossible." The group debated for another 20 minutes before finally agreeing to go to the meeting point. Rachel smiled to herself. They were walking right into her plan. The old mill ruins were the remains of a colonial-era grist mill, long abandoned. It sat in a small valley surrounded by hills, a natural amphitheater. Rachel arrived 4 hours early and began her preparations. This wasn't going to be a fair fight. But then again, war never was. The old mill ruins sat in a clearing surrounded by dense forest. The main structure was a crumbling stone building with empty windows and a partially collapsed roof. A dried-up water wheel leaned against one wall, covered in moss and vines. Rachel had studied this location during her preparation. She knew every angle, every sight line, every place where someone could hide or take cover. And now she was turning it into a killing field. Not a real killing field, of course. This was a training exercise with marking rounds. But the principles were the same: control the terrain, establish overlapping fields of fire, and never give your enemy a fair fight. She worked methodically through the morning. First, she set up her primary firing position on a hillside 80 meters from the mill, concealed among rocks and underbrush. Perfect elevation, perfect view of the entire clearing. Then she established 3 fallback positions at different angles. If the students figured out where she was shooting from, she could relocate quickly without being spotted. Next came the psychological elements. She placed her jacket on a broken window ledge inside the mill itself, visible from the forest. From a distance, it would look like she was inside the building. It was an old trick, but often effective. Finally, she rigged several tripwires connected to bells salvaged from her equipment. Not enough to hurt anyone, just enough to alert her if someone tried to flank her positions. By 12:45 hours, everything was ready. Rachel settled into her primary position and waited. At exactly 1300 hours, the 7 remaining students emerged from the tree line. They moved cautiously, weapons raised, scanning for threats. Webb was leading them now. Hutchins had apparently given up command after losing 5 men. They advanced in a tactical formation that was actually quite good, staggered positions, good spacing, weapons covering different sectors. Too bad it wouldn't help them. Webb raised his fist, and the group stopped at the edge of the clearing. He studied the mill ruins through his rifle scope. "It's too quiet," he said. "I don't like this." "You see her jacket in the window?" one of the students asked. "I see it, which means it's a decoy. Or she's getting careless." Webb shook his head. "She hasn't been careless once in the past 18 hours. Why would she start now?" Through her scope, Rachel watched them debate. She could take a shot right now, eliminate 1 or 2 before they scattered, but she waited, patience. Hutchins apparently couldn't stand the waiting. "This is ridiculous. We're 7 armed men standing around afraid of 1 woman. I'm going in." "Wait," Webb started. But Hutchins was already moving, jogging across the clearing toward the mill. 2 other students followed him, not wanting to look cowardly. Rachel tracked Hutchins through her scope. 50 meters from the mill, 40, 30. She fired. The marking round hit Hutchins square in the back. He stumbled forward, caught himself, and looked down at the orange paint spreading across his vest. "No," he shouted. "No way." The 2 students with him dove for cover behind the old water wheel. Rachel's second and third shots caught them both before they could get fully concealed. 6 down, 4 to go. The remaining 4 students, Webb and 3 others, scattered back into the tree line. Rachel watched them disappear into the forest, moving with the panic of men who suddenly realized they were being hunted by someone far more skilled than they'd imagined. She waited 15 minutes, not moving, barely breathing. Then one of the students made a mistake. A man named Jackson tried to circle around to get a better angle on the mill. He was moving carefully, using good cover and concealment. But he passed within 3 meters of one of Rachel's tripwires. The bell jingled softly. Rachel shifted her aim to that sector and waited. 5 seconds later, Jackson's head appeared above a fallen log. She fired. The marking round caught him in the shoulder. "Damn it," Jackson's voice echoed through the forest. 7 down, 3 to go. Webb's voice came over the radio, and for the first time Rachel heard genuine respect in it. "Stone, this is Webb. You've made your point. You're better than us. Significantly better. Can we call this exercise and debrief?" Rachel keyed her radio. "Exercise ends at 1800 hours Friday or when all students are eliminated. Those are the parameters. I don't make exceptions." "Come on," another student pleaded. "We get it. We underestimated you. We were wrong." "Yes, you were," Rachel said. "But in the real world, the enemy doesn't accept your apology and let you go home. In the real world, underestimating your opponent gets you killed." She clicked off the radio. For the next 3 hours, Rachel played cat and mouse with the remaining 3 students. They tried everything, splitting up, setting ambushes, even attempting to wait her out. But Rachel had all the advantages. She knew this terrain better. She had planned better. And she had something they didn't have, years of experience in actual combat operations where failure meant death. At 16:40 hours, she eliminated the student named Porter. He had tried to sneak through a creek bed to flank her position, but Rachel had anticipated the move. She was waiting when he emerged, and her shot was perfect. 8 down, 2 to go. Only Webb and 1 other student remained, a younger man named Chen who had been quiet throughout the entire course. Rachel tracked them as they pulled back to a defensive position on a small hill. They were exhausted, frustrated, and running out of options. She could hear them talking. "We can't win this," Chen said. "She's too good." "I know," Webb admitted, "but I'll be damned if I'm going to just surrender. We've got," he checked his watch, 26 hours left. If we can stay hidden that long, we at least don't fail completely." "You really think we can hide from her for 26 hours when she's already found us a dozen times?" Webb was silent. Rachel considered her options. She could wait them out, let them stew in their fear and exhaustion, or she could end this now. But then something happened that changed everything. Her radio crackled with a different voice. Captain Morrison. Stone, this is Morrison. Abort the exercise. Return to base immediately. Rachel frowned. Sir, the exercise isn't scheduled to end until. This is not a request, Lieutenant Commander. Abort now. We have a situation. The tone in Morrison's voice made Rachel's blood run cold. This wasn't about the exercise. Understood, sir. On my way. She keyed to the student frequency. All remaining personnel, exercise is terminated. Return to base camp immediately. This is not a drill. Rachel gathered her gear and started moving toward the extraction point. Something was very wrong. She reached the base camp 40 minutes later. Morrison was waiting, along with 2 men in civilian clothes who had federal agent written all over them. What's going on? Rachel asked. Morrison's face was grim.